Hello, vibrant souls. I'm Rathan. I live in India, and I believe you guys have seen Nereyda interview others and also talk about herself, etc. This episode will be totally different. I am going to interview Nereyda.
That you're here.
Yeah, me too.
And we're in the same space.
Yep. Same city, and it was such a long time that we had not met. So I'm very, very happy, and thank you for hosting me here.
Yeah, thank you for the idea of interviewing me. It's a pleasure to be interviewed by you.
Yeah, so let's throw some personal questions at you and then see what we can get out of it and what some things that you're hiding and not shared during the podcast. So
I'm a little nervous.
Let's see how it goes. So I think our viewers, listeners would also love this because of a few of the questions. I hope we get something that you have never shared before.
Okay, that's exciting.
Are you ready?
So ready.
Okay, let's start. So in the past recent podcast, you mentioned you're doing a juice fast. And I think it was for a pretty long time. 25 days is pretty long time. Can you share with us what led you to choose this, and then how difficult it was, and then how long are you going to continue?
Yeah. So then the reason why I decided to do it was because I wanted to heal the cyst on my ovaries.
Okay.
So a couple months ago, I went to go get an ultrasound. I was feeling like certain feelings in my pelvis, and I had the news that I had, I think it's like 5 centimeters. It's pretty big, a cyst on my ovaries. Okay. And for me, it felt very like a whisper, like an intuitive feeling to juice.
Okay, we'll get to the whisper thing again. I have a few things to ask. Okay, keep going.
So it's definitely like a feeling of do a detox,
awesome.
Detox your body, and so I listened to it, and I kept putting it off because it's been months. Oh, and then when I came back from Canada, I was like, you know what, life's always going to happen, and just do it right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I hope you feel better, and then the fasting helps you to cure the issue. So when you say juice fasting, are you referring to only green juices, or do you mix make it like a smoothie, or do you have only greens, or do you have greens and some veggies together? How is that?
Yeah. So the first 20 days, I've been doing just pure juices with veggies and fruit, and there's no fiber in it. Awesome. So it's pure juice with water. And then the last 10 days, I've been adding fiber and protein to slowly ease myself out of it.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I do at some point want to do 30 days of just pure juices.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's my intention for next time.
Perfect. Let's see if we can do it together once I start, and then that'll be more fun.
That would be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
I've done it a couple of times. Once I did it for 30 days, and a couple of times it was like 15 days.
In the 30 days that you did, was it just pure juices?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we totally should do it.
Yeah. Initially, a few days I was not comfortable, especially the second day. But it's kind of a mind over body sometimes, and then after a few days, my body would completely adjust to it, and then not ask for food, except you smell the food when somebody's cooking, and the spice and from India, and then we use a lot of spices, and when those spice you get to smell those, you feel like I'm missing something, but you just move away or make your willpower more stronger, then you can keep going.
Yes, I totally agree.
Awesome.
I shared that in my most recent podcast.
Okay.
Where I shared how there's a point where it's I want food and food wants me, and it does become mind over body in a way, or something else is bigger. Yeah. Where it takes over, and it's okay, no, I need to stick to my intention. I'm gonna keep doing this.
Awesome.
And it does go away. The last couple of days, I'm I can live without food. Sure. Who needs food?
Yeah. Who needs that, right? It's just that we have so used to having 3 times or 4 times a day. I think during my fasting, one of the things I realized was trying to tell the body who is the boss. Is it the soul, or is it the body with all these cravings, or it's the emotional body, or is it somebody who owns, or he's the supreme, that's my soul,
Okay.
and then somewhere you regulate the body's things that I'm the soul, like you are my vehicles, instead of you dominating me and saying I need this, I need that. So
yeah, so you narrated.
When I was doing that, initially it was more cleansing of chakras, etc., especially the solar plexus, which is in the center of the body, like around the sternum. I felt that while doing this juice fasting, because the body is pretty much free, the healing energy of the body can be reinvested in cleansing the body, and that is when a lot of hidden emotions or suppressed emotions were released. And then we were trying to figure out, and then we found out that the chakra gets cleansed.
Wow.
And then it is a way of telling the body that you obey the soul.
Okay.
Right? The soul is occupying
it's
the
like
body.
retraining almost.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
It was fun. It was difficult on a few days, but then you kind of will, and then use your will, and then tell the body, no, you cannot do this. I mean, you have to continue, because I, the soul, was given these bodies. I use you guys. So it was pretty.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way, of like kind of retraining and letting the soul take over, leading rather than like your ego or your body.
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
oh.
That's how it worked. That's what I had. Okay, well, good luck with the fasting, and we hope your issue would be resolved by the time you're in the fasting. So, on your website, this was interesting to me. When I landed on your website, I saw this big quote from Ramdas. It says, "We are all walking each other home." So I'm just going to repeat for the viewers. We are all walking each other home, by Ramdas. Now, that's very interesting quote. It comes from a very noted, very popular spiritual teacher.
Yeah.
What is your take on that? Why did you pick that specific line? And I know I've seen on your shelf there are tons of books, both from Ramdas and from Neem Karoli Baba, and then many other books. And I know you love reading, and I know you've read a lot of books. Among all the books that you read, among all these authors, what made you pick that specific line? How does what was going on in, or what do you infer? What can our listeners infer from that line?
I think ever since I've heard Ram Dass and I've gotten connected to his teachings.
Okay.
And even from our trip, like when we went to India and I got really close to Baba, I think more and more that quote resonated with me as to like, what is our purpose here on earth?
Okay.
And not just for me, but like everybody. And the way that I interpret like that quote is that there is this space where it's called home. And we think that we get there when we die, and like we do, right? Like we go back home when we transition from this life. Yet at the same time, it's like we can also access it here in this lifetime. And for me, it's like, which something from my friend just popped up, but for me, it's like, like we can all do that for each other. Like we can all walk each other to that space of home in this given moment. And for me, like the reason why it's on my website is because a lot of like the core of like my life coaching and meditation and how I show up even to like the podcast has become who I've become and what I've learned and what I've enmeshed in my soul and in my brain from those teachings.
Awesome.
So for me, it's like, like we're all walking each other home. Like, yes, I'm in this position as like a life coach, a meditation teacher, like I do the podcast, and maybe there's a space of like, I'm trying to walk you home, or I'm trying to give the space open for you to walk home. Awesome. But at the same time, it's like people don't know who are listening. Like you guys also walk me home.
Awesome.
It's this intertwined like journey together.
Awesome.
So it really hits.
It's like you can connect to yourself while you are in the body. You don't have to wait until you die and then connect back. Awesome.
And for me too, like it's like walking each other home. It can be like a moment of a smile, where like I'm smiling, you smile, and there's like a moment of peace or like joy.
Okay.
But for me, it also is like, like what about doing like the deeper work?
Okay.
Like that also, like maybe I'm here as a life coach or somebody else is showing up as like a healer, and it's for us to work through that muck to be more in a space of home.
Okay. Awesome.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
because we are all one family, so we help each other. Okay.
yeah,
That sounds like fun.
yeah. So
That
it's
sounds good.
like the core.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, we have a quote in Sanskrit. It's called as all human beings. It refers to the human beings as such. It's called as Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That means all of us belong to the same family.
Like we're all one.
Yeah, we are all one. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, resonates with this. Okay.
Yeah.
The next one I had was one of your podcasts. I was listening to that, and you mentioned about human experience, spiritual experience, but you were very clear when you mentioned we are all having a human experience. So what I could infer was that we, the spiritual being, is experiencing a human uh, experience that we are facing through the human life. We are experiencing this world and etc. So how did you arrive at that? Because pretty much I have spoken to many people, and even me, before I learned a few things, I was assuming that I'm human being. When I'm meditating, I'm having a spiritual experience. I'm a human being. Then I'm learning this stuff, and then I become spiritual. Or when I start on the spiritual path to meditate, to do whatever spiritual work that means to you, and then I become spiritual. Like I help people, I do a philanthropy work, I try to do service. Those meant like, oh, that is when I have spiritualized my life. That is what I was under the impression. But later on, I came to understand that this is one of the experiences my soul is having. So it is the human experience that the soul is experiencing. But I had to spend a lot of years and then a lot of study, etc. And then later I came to know. But how did you arrive at that? And then how should somebody implement that or use that information?
The human experience. Did you hear it like in the intro of my podcast? Or?
Yeah, it's there in your podcast. Yeah, one of the podcasts.
That's funny because when you went through the questions, I was like, oh shit, like, you did your homework.
Yeah, it's on your podcast.
Yeah. So I also believe that. Like I do believe that we're spirits in our bodies having like both, like a spiritual experience in this world, but we're also having a human experience.
Okay.
But when it pertains to like my podcast, like specifically, it feels like the intention with why I did the podcast is to, again, it feels like come collectively.
Okay.
Like, oh, we're all going through this experience together as humans.
Okay.
Like, we're all going through some type of sadness. We're all going through some type of anger. We're all going through some type of depression and anxiety and like challenges and, thoughts of like work, like all this stuff. So for me, it was very specific to, hey, like, let's talk about our human experience together.
Awesome.
Like, let's talk, like, you don't have to do it alone.
I get it. I think what you're saying is when we have those incidents where we fight or I'm sad, etc., don't identify ourselves with the sadness or the anger. You're saying identify yourself. You're the spiritual self inside, and this is something that you created. So disassociate yourself from these emotions.
So it's interesting that you're saying that, right? I think the way that I talk about it, it feels like, for me, I think the way that I talk about it in my podcast, it's kind of like, oh, you're feeling this, like, it's okay. Like, there's like acceptance to it, maybe. And then there's like, okay, if you want to wallow in it, okay, but like, how long do you want to wallow in it?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to connect? Like, okay, I can guide you to connect to yourself, right? Where like maybe the anger is still there, but maybe it's not the leader of that moment in time.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, I think that's how I provide like the tools.
That's nice.
Yeah. Because I feel like in the moment, it's like we all go through some stuff, and it's like when we're in it, it really feels so real. Like sometimes we're in it and we don't, we're not even in the space to detach and connect to our soul.
Sure.
So in the moment, it's kind of like, okay, like it's okay, like you're a human. Like
all of us go through our shit. So
and then when the time comes and you're feeling a little bit better, or if you're open in that space to reconnect, like let's do a prayer, let's do a meditation, let's like rechange our thoughts. And to be honest, like I'm going through something right now where it's like I have so much anger towards a person, and from the moment that I felt it,
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling all these thoughts, and I'm like, this is not like me. Like, I'm usually
Sure.
very kind, and even if people don't like me, I send love out. And this time, it was like a very much, I'm angry, and like I want to send all these bad vibes, and again, it feels like I have to, what I teach, I have to,
you have to follow that.
I have to follow it. Like, okay, it's okay for me to be in it. Like, I'm human. Like, it's okay for me to be in it. And, you know, I have really good friends. Like, one of my friends was like, hey, like, these thoughts don't define who you are. And that helped a lot for me to, again, still be in it as a human being.
Awesome.
You know, and then again, it's like I go back to my tools. Like, okay, let me use prayer. Like, God, like, help me see this a different way. Like, God, like, help me remind me my tools. Like, God, like, please, like, help me find compassion for myself and this person. Perfect. You know, so again, it like, okay, like that's part of my human experience too, but it's adding more of my spirit into it.
Awesome. That's
a beautiful, it's like a long ass answer, but
but that's a very good tip. Whenever you are in pile of shit, you don't have to identify yourself with the shit. You have means. So that's a good tip for you guys. If you, in case you go through anything like that in your daily life, then you know whom to connect to, and then get out of that. Okay. So the next one I had was, I think for a few months or few years, you have done this tea time on Thursdays, and then you started your podcast, and then I don't know what else you're gonna add. Now I saw some videos on YouTube as well. Now the Apple has some podcasts, and then you are doing tea time. What inspires you to do all this stuff while you have a job, while you have to go to school, while you have a family, etc.? Now all these keep you busy, but what inspires you to share and then put all the resources in and the time, etc., to do this? So what's your driving factor?
Me. Ooh, well, one, it's fun. I enjoy it. Like, I'm having a great time with you. Like, on camera and outside.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So, excuse me. For me, even when I'm by myself, like, I have a really good time with it. And it's fun. But I think for me, too, it really feels like a calling.
Awesome.
Like, I think since the moment that I started doing the meditation clubs, and I think even before then, like I think I've always been very much wanting to help others since I was a kid and then a teenager. But I think ever since I started the meditation club, it really became I feel like I have all this information or these experiences, and I just want to share it to the world. Awesome. Like whether one person listens or like nobody listens or a lot of people listen to it, it's like I know how much other people have helped me without them even trying, with their stories, like with their encouragement, with their words. So it's like, oh, if I can show up and be that to somebody else, it's very fulfilling. Wow. And it's crazy because it's like through my tea times, like people have messaged me, you know, how they were able to shift perspectives or how the meditation helped, or like not too long ago, like I run into this girl from church, and we were at the gym, and she came up to me and she was telling me how I inspired her to live in France. Like she left, you know, like she has a boyfriend and now she's living there. Wow. And for me, it gave me the chills, and I almost teared up because it's like, oh my God, like it's so nice to hear how I can inspire you like that. Like you're literally following your dreams, like. That's what I want people, even right now, already getting passionate about it.
Exactly. I know.
You know, it's like, just like the desire for people to follow their heart and their intuition.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for doing those.
Like when people message me, like even with the podcast, it adds fuel.
Sure.
You know, like I think there's like some weeks where I either don't know what to talk about or I'm not feeling great, and then I'll get like a random message and I'm like, this is all I need. I'm going to do it tonight.
Wow, that's nice. We hope you continue to do and continue to inspire people. So it's really fun. Some of them, I loved it. In some of them, again, you mentioned about this, and in many of your videos, you talk about whispers. We want to ask you, how does one get into that whisper, quote unquote, the whisper kind of a zone where you listen to your inner voice? Do you kind of meditate and then the whisper starts, or do you get into a quiet place, do some kind of chanting, and then you get in? also, how do we use that? So how do you use your whisper? Like you mentioned, it was some kind of a message, like an intuitive message that you got, and then that is where you started your podcast. So how does one get into that zone? It may be different for every person, but how is it for you? How do you get into that zone?
I honestly feel that everybody has it.
Yeah.
And I think the whisper is always speaking to us.
Awesome.
Like I don't think that we necessarily have to meditate or pray. I do feel that it's constantly speaking to us.
Okay.
But whether we listen or not, I think that's where maybe meditation comes into place, or prayer. Because I know, like, the first time that I recognized my whisper, like, I wasn't into meditation.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I was into prayer, but not as much as now. Like, and for me, like, it just became, I was in a 5-year relationship. And for me, it just came through, like, words, maybe, like, through my heart of, like, seek solitude. Solitude.
Okay.
And for me, it's like, that's not me, because in my head, I want to make this work with this guy, and I want to get married and whatever. And still that heart feeling was like, no, seek whisper, or seek solitude. Solitude. And then I listened to it, and that's like what birthed, you know, like my travels and like learning more about myself. And honestly, like this too, like I don't think I would be here if
otherwise
I didn't listen to that whisper. But I think the way that you develop it is through meditation, is through prayer. It's through like silence and just consistently like checking up with yourself.
Awesome. But how do you differentiate? Is it the whisper, or is it your mind? So you might be getting some
really
thoughts from your mind, but how do you differentiate that with? To me, the whisper means your higher soul talking to you, because the Supreme knows everything. So the higher soul is trying to convey some message. Some people call it gut feeling. Some people call it as intuition. I think that is what you call it, as whisper.
Yes.
How do you personally separate that this is not my mind, this is the whisper from the soul?
Well, just to let you guys know, I'm still working on it.
That's a good one. Sure.
I had like a recent experience, like with the last couple months, where my whisper was saying something, and I was like, hold on, you know, I keep making this work. And but I think for me, what's made the distinction is that for when it comes from my brain, it's like a chatter. It's like a story. It's it's when, why, like where, who, the feelings.
It's more logical to deal with.
Yeah, it's illogical. Yeah, it has like the answers, and like sometimes I can feel like the anxiety coming in or like the fear, right? So I feel like it's heavy. It could be heavy. And with the whisper, and the gut feeling, or that sixth sense, it feels like it's very subtle and it's soft. And it doesn't come with like details. It doesn't come with like a story. It could be just a word or a sentence. And like that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like I really honestly feel like everybody has them, right? So I feel like in the moment, if you start to practice, it's like, okay, you can even ask yourself, is this my brain or is this like my gut? And in that space, you'll learn how to distinguish.
Or it's somebody else's thought.
Well, even that, like I feel like it comes from our brain. Like I feel like even if it's like somebody else's opinion or the world's story, it's like, oh, that's still our brain talking. That's still very logical.
Sure. Awesome. I have, for me, most of the times when I have noticed, it is just like, that's it. It's like very, very subtle, soft. The message is conveyed. That's it. And then it takes a while for me to interpret. Oh, this is what you meant. Like, oh, this is what the message that we received, and how to interpret it, how to implement, etc. It takes a while. But like you said, it's usually soft, subtle, and to the point. It doesn't have a logic behind that. So it takes a while for you to figure out, this was the message because this happened, that wouldn't happen.
And that's why, like, that's what I share in my book too, because sometimes it is scary because it doesn't come with like a story, right? And for our brains, like we want to know, like when I got that first whisper, or when I recognized my first whisper of like seek solitude, my brain was like, what is solitude? Like, I don't know what that is. And like, what do you mean seek it? Like, what's the answer? Like, what do I have to do? And in my gut, I just knew I have to break up with this person. You know, like I was no longer happy, like all this stuff, but it was very much like, but again, like that feels scary. You know, I think that sometimes it takes a while for us to listen or to
and have
really
trust.
live through it or trust it or have
Trust
faith in it.
Yeah, is it just my mind or
Yeah.
somebody's thought, or is it really my?
Yeah, because it doesn't come with any more like
Yeah.
how to.
Okay.
Like the
Awesome.
1 through 5 steps.
I'm glad you have listened to it and then worked on many things, and it is
Yeah.
always fruitful. It has given our viewers a chance to listen to you and then also learn
Yeah.
from your experiences.
Yeah.
So that's nice. You
Yeah.
mentioned about a book that you're writing. I believe you would call it as The Vibrant Unknown because you like those two words. Now,
Yeah.
what is the current status on that, and what inspired you to author a book amongst all the busy schedule that you have? Then why a book?
Oh,
Mhm.
well. So I actually started writing the book when I was in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That goes
so it's
long
been a
back.
while.
Okay.
It's been a while of me
Okay.
writing this book.
Sure.
And I think it's taking me a while because sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm going to put it away. Like,
Mhm.
there's no point to it.
Okay.
Right? But
Okay.
the reason, to be completely honest with you,
Mhm.
I was tripping on acid.
Okay. Oh my god.
Like in
Guys,
Vietnam.
That book will be fun.
Well, the beginning was a little bit on
beginning.
acid.
Uh,
The rest has been
no.
sober, guys.
Maybe you should
But-
go back on this and then complete so that we end on a high note.
That's true, I should. I have to do a chapter about that.
Yeah.
Like the end.
While you're tripping, you write that. Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
we can't even decode what you have written, but we'll try our best. So that's fun.
Yeah. Well, so I was tripping on acid and I was coming down
Mhm.
and I've always wanted to write something. Like
Okay.
I've always wanted to be a writer.
Awesome.
I just never knew of what. You
Wow.
know, so it was always the thought. I have it in my journals, whatever. And
Mhm.
that night I was coming down, and I just had again. It might be like the whisper in my gut. I had this feeling of get your laptop and go to the coffee shop and just write. And I remember it was nighttime. Like it was nighttime. I remember like the lights and the city lights. And I sat on my laptop and I just started to write like the vibrant unknown. Like this is what it is. This is the whisper of the heart, and this is how I'm living through it right now. You know,
Awesome.
and
Okay.
yeah, and then like I was coming out, and I think the next day, like I was so motivated
Mhm.
that I ended up going to the coffee shop the next day, and I kept writing.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's
So
nice.
and I
That's nice.
don't know if like I started doing it before or after, but
Mhm.
in Vietnam I wrote an article about the vibrant unknown,
Mhm.
and I don't know, it just felt like okay, let me write about this.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and I think the last 5 years, I think, or 4 years, there's been so much added to it,
Mhm.
little bits and pieces of the last 5 years of my life.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's nice.
and I'm
So-
already gonna write a second one, so
Oh.
stay tuned.
Perfect. Yeah, we look
That's gonna
forward
be about
for the
family.
book. That will be amazing.
Mhm.
We look forward for the book.
Yeah,
You mentioned just now about traveling to Vietnam,
yeah.
and then I'm assuming you did a lot of solo travels along with that. What's the craziest thing that you have done, and what inspired you to travel? Of course, I'm grateful that we met only because of your travel in Rishikesh in India.
Yeah.
But what actually motivated you to move from the US to Vietnam and also continue with your solo traveling as such?
Loaded questions, guys.
That's what this is all about, right?
Yeah, loaded
Yes.
questions.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Mhm.
So, what inspired me to go to Vietnam?
Mhm.
Maybe we can start with that one.
Yes.
Because it's, I'm like, which
Yeah, that's-
one?
Yes.
Never had to change that. So what inspired me to go to Vietnam? So not a year, when I was in college at Cal State Fullerton,
Okay.
the friend at the time and we went to Italy to study abroad for the summer.
Okay.
And in that whole month, I was very curious as to like, oh my God, like what is it like to live in a whole different country for a year?
Mhm.
Like what would it be if I learned so much and got to experience so much in a month, like what would it be like a whole year?
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
so I kind of forgot about it when I came back. I graduated school and I was in between going back to school, and through my journal entries when I was in Italy, it popped up like to live abroad. And I was like, oh my goodness, forget school. Like, let me move. Let me.
Oh my God, yeah, you trust your whisper so much. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, but it took a while
good.
though. Like,
Okay.
I didn't just get my airplane ticket and leave. Like, maybe it took 2 years because I almost got married. Like, I had so many fears to work on before actually making the move. You know, so it took a while for me to actually do it. But yeah, like that inspired me to move. But even before then, what inspired me to travel by myself was still going to Italy because I met people that were traveling by themselves.
Okay.
And
like backpackers and stuff.
Yeah. And it's funny because in America we have this thought of like, you travel by yourself, like it's so dangerous, like you're a woman, like don't you have friends? Like it was all these stories.
Like you were sharing when you were in India too, you were like afraid, you were not sure, like is it safe? Is it I'm alone? And are there anybody you can misuse or you can end up in a bad situation? I remember that.
Exactly. And when I was in Italy, like I would meet these people and they had just wonderful experiences of traveling by themselves, and I admired them so much. So it made me so curious, like what is that like? So I came back, right, and like my 5-year relationship and I broke up, and I ended up booking a ticket by myself to Cancun. And then I did that, and same thing. It was like, oh my God, there's all these travelers, and they're by themselves, and it's so much fun. And the intention was to learn how to be alone. Yeah, and of course, for me, like going to the coffee shop wasn't enough. Like I just.
I need to know which coffee shop this is.
I go to so many coffee shops.
For the viewers, for the benefit of the viewers, if they go and sit in that shop, we don't know, they might get some intuition. And
I'm gonna share a list of all the coffee shops.
They must be making good money, and then they'll continue with that with more people. Okay, once you came back, you mentioned you went to school and then you do life coach. So you are a life coach. So want to know more of what motivated you to become a life coach, and now how are you helping others by being a life coach? Is this something like your day job? Is it you're doing because you're passionate about it, and then you want to be of service to the society to help people, and then you do that along with other initiatives? But this is like a life, being a life coach, you try to help people. So what is it all about, and then how do you help people with that?
So with life coaching, it's very specific to people trying to connect to themselves, and whether it's like self-love or they're stuck in a position like choices and they don't know which one to choose, so they're feeling stuck. It involves like if they're feeling like they're not worthy enough. So it's really based on like connection with yourself. And I'm like, you asked 10 questions. I'm like, which one do I choose? So the niche or the life coaching specifics that I do is that, right? So I've guided other people to go back to school, which is pretty cool. Like I've guided people or been a coach to build like their spiritual connection, which again like turned out to have super profound effects in their lives. I've guided other people to work through some feelings with their families. So again, like I try to be very mindful because I'm not a therapist. So it's very much like, okay, like how can we connect back to yourself? Like what are you going through, and how can I guide you to that connection? The reason why I started doing it is because when I came back from COVID, my friend had mentioned like, hey, why don't you just become a life coach? You already do it already. And it was like, oh, like that's true. Like, let me give it a shot. And I enjoyed it. Like I liked it. Like it was so fulfilling. And right now, like I'm not doing it full time. Like I am a coach, but I work for the county with little kids, and I teach them coping skills in their homes. So I work with kids who have like intense behavioral issues, like self-cutting. They're in the psychiatric hospital, and they refer me, and I go out and help them at home. So it's kind of aligned, like the coaching, like it's still very much coaching, but with the coaching, like I realized that I couldn't go deeper with them. So that's why I decided to do the Rubenfeld Synergy course, the training course in Canada. And I recently decided to go back to school. So for the same reason, like I want to go deeper with them, because I could see it, like I could see other issues coming of family or deep feelings, and it's like, oh, I'm not trained to guide people through those feelings, and I want to be. Like I'm so passionate to guide people to transform their lives.
Perfect.
And I think it kind of goes back a little bit to like my own personal life, where it's like wherever I wanted to go, like sometimes I had to work through these deep blocks to get there. So for me, it's become such a motivation of helping other people like I know you want to get there. Like,
Yeah.
let me, like, how can I coach you through it?
Okay, so you have walked the path, and then you're trying to help others who are facing similar issues, or who had
Yeah.
blocks like you, or maybe how to move on, or any issues as such. You're
Yeah.
trying to help them to walk easily and then get over that. Right? That's a
through
really
it.
noble cause. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
On your website,
Like-
one more thing that I noticed was,
Uh-huh.
I mean, of course, you had spoken about this in your podcast as well. So I have heard this same thing from many people who give you like spiritual talks, or some people who try to motivate you, etc. You, in one of your talks, you mentioned about this, and I think you were referring to a book, like
Uh-huh.
Universe Has Your Back.
Mm.
So first thing is, what does that mean to a common man who doesn't know much about anything about spirituality or anything at all?
Uh-huh.
What does Universe Has Your Back mean? Second, how can I believe that really universe has my back? If I ask the universe, will it show me that? Or how do you prove to a common man that yes, universe has your back?
Well, that's a good question.
Mhm.
Loaded questions,
Loaded
guys.
questions.
Okay, so the universe has your back.
Mhm.
What was the first question?
Yeah, so for a common man, how does he understand? I don't see the universe like in the material world. I don't know what universe means to me. Then when you say universe has my back, how do I believe?
Yeah. So for me, it's like I believe that the universe is always working for us.
Okay.
And I really do believe that's like a universal truth.
Okay.
Like the universe, God, that higher power is always working towards us.
Okay.
But it's kind of like, are we open to receive it? Are we open to be supported? Are we open to listen?
Okay.
And I feel like in those moments, we could feel that God, the universe, does have our back.
Okay.
You know, and I think one of the things for me too with the universe has your back is that we have like our logical brain thinking that it's supposed to be X, Y, Z.
Okay.
And it's like, no, like our ego is so tiny in a way and it's so narrow where it's like, how can I release that and feel more of the universe or God's energy?
Okay.
Let's say like an example would be like my dad was in the hospital, you know, like last weekend. And maybe a person would have taken as like oh my God, this is so devastating. Like he's in the hospital. Like this sucks. Like why is the universe working against me? And it could be very much in that narrative. But the way that I took it was, okay, like he's breathing, like he's okay, like he has a family, like we have a family unit, like okay, the universe has our back. Like we're being supported by helping each other. You know, and then even when we're in the hospital, I think it maybe gratitude has a lot to do with it too, and maybe just seeing like the little things that God does, because it's like we live on this earth, like life's gonna happen. There is suffering, there is pain, there is challenges.
Sure.
So sometimes it is hard to see it, and I think with the job that I have now with the kids, sometimes it does make me like ponder, like, oh man, like how does the universe have like their back here, right? Or how does the universe have our back, like when they're going through these challenges, right? Yeah. But I think it's also like looking at the little things, right? So that weekend that my dad was in the hospital, it was like, okay, we're like in a really good hospital. Thank you, God. Like, thank you, universe.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, it's not a heart attack or a stroke. Thank you, God. Like, you got our back.
Okay.
You know, it's like, yes, like he's getting older. Like, life happens. Infections are present, right? Yeah. Like a lot of these things. But it's like, okay, how can I see the little things that God is doing for me?
Awesome. Yeah.
You know, so again, it's like my friends showed up. Right, like a friend dropped off a juice for me. One of my other friends offered to drop dinner for my mom and I. And again, for me, it's like, thank you, universe, for having our back. Like I think God, the universe, works through other people too in that way, and that's the way that, like, again, like we like, the universe has our back.
Sure.
You know, so it's yeah. So I think in that way.
So you're saying in any given situation, always look at the positive aspect of the situation, and then be grateful that something could have gone even worse, even beyond what we could think, because it's only universe trying to give us or show us this. Just focus on the positive aspect always, and then have gratitude to attract more of the good things.
A little bit, yeah, because even I think we can easily fall into like positive toxic positive toxicity.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like I feel like we could really easily fall on, okay, this is really positive and now I'm numbing my feelings.
Okay.
So I feel like it's a little bit of everything. Like there was worry, there was uncertainty, like I was nervous about my dad being there and worried about him.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, like I'm being present with my feelings, with the fear, with the lack. And I think at some point it becomes a choice. Like I'm still going to choose to believe that God has my back.
Awesome.
Like I'm still going to choose that like the universe is taking care of us and we're okay. We're going to be okay. And everything is okay. But I think like it does come through a lot of practice.
Sure.
You know, like I think that, and again, like I don't know, like I think I've always been a person since a kid believing in God.
Okay.
And I was always attracted to the church. Like as a young kid, I always wanted to serve. Like I always wanted to be next to the priest or like pray. So I don't know, maybe that's where it comes from.
Okay.
You know, and then there's like personal stories where I was abandoned as a kid or as a toddler. So again, it's like I don't know if through that experience it was like, oh, the universe has my back in that way too.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's also like perspective, but
okay.
In terms of feeling, I feel like the more we practice it or choose, the more we feel it, the more it shows up for us.
Okay, like, so in order to experience, so you're saying this is more of an experiential thing, focus on the positive aspects of whatever incidents, and then keep being assertive and then keep repeating or keep showing, because if I don't have any kind of gratitude, then I would look upon somebody who doesn't have what I have and then thank the universe that you gave me this, thank you. And keep doing that over a period of time for thanking the universe for everything that it has given. And then more of such things will show up.
Yeah, because I feel like whatever you give out, it'll come back.
Okay.
Right? So for me, it's kind of like one of my friends just got a tattoo that says love begets love. And for her, it was like, yeah, the more love I give, the more love I'll receive.
Okay.
So I feel like it's the same with that moment. Like the more you notice like the little things. And again, like it won't happen every day. Like there's some, like just a couple of weeks ago, I woke up in dread and it's like, fuck, I don't feel gratitude at all. Like, how do I move through these feelings?
Sure.
Like, I don't see God right now.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're going to have those spaces and it's okay. But it's like in the moments when life is just happening, whether good or bad, it's like, how can you see the little things and be grateful for them?
Sure.
Like the sun shining, right? Like the sun making you maybe like smile, maybe like your coworkers, maybe like a conversation with a friend.
Yeah.
Like how can those little things inspire you to feel that the universe has your back? Awesome. And again, I think it goes back to that space where we think it's one way in our brain, but it's like I think it's a different way in our spirit, in our heart.
Okay.
Because we feel it with our heart and our spirit.
Sure. I think it takes a while if you keep showing gratitude for one thing, and then it's like I recall a story when you were saying about gratitude. It's like your mom, she cooks maybe bread, gives you a slice. If you say thank you mom, this was very tasty, it's always the mother's nature, can I give you one more slice, and the second slice, until you're full, and even after you're full she keeps giving you because you said thank you for this and I like this, and then so the mom keeps feeding you. It's very similar to that we, whoever is the creator, we are trying to say, thank you for giving me this, thank you for giving me that, thank you for this. And then so because we are acknowledging and then we are saying, yeah, this made me happy. Probably it's like, okay, what else can I give you? So you're even more happier.
Yeah, right. That's exactly the way that I feel it is.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah.
Because I feel like if you're in that space of like negativity, it's going to come back too.
Yeah, again, it is not going to help anyone because already people are suffering. They have few negative things. And if you can stay positive and focus on the positive stuff, then, and you give out, at least you are radiating positive stuff. So that's a real good one. And then I will definitely take it back about the gratitude. And then, like you said, I think we have to keep working towards it. And then keep practicing daily, and then you will eventually be able to feel that, and then you'll experience more and more of that.
Even like the shift in perspective of like the universe has my back. Even if you don't feel it, like just start saying it to yourself. Like just start saying it to yourself, like the universe has my back, like God has my back.
Wow, that's a good learning for today. I'm just gonna keep that one definitely, and then start saying, and then maybe in one of the future podcasts, if we do that time, I will give you
tell me all the stories.
How my experiences with that was.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that's all I had planned for this podcast. So thank you so much for your support.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for being open. Thank you for sharing many of your personal stuff as well.
Yeah.
I hope our listeners, viewers would love this, and then we would like to hear from them. And if they have more questions, then we will get back to you, right? And then we can get back and then make some more for them. So thank you so much for spending the time. And
thank you so much for the idea. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
He's here. So excited.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for staying with us. Thank you for watching this. Thank you.